modifying the crystals and we get into this quasi-crystal metal stuff, which some of that's on the site too, you're going to have metal and crystal combinations and things that will just have draw factors to specific polarities and pulse rates. And they'll just keep drawing it and releasing it, drawing it and releasing it, and then we'll harness off those crystals and do whatever we need to do with it. So you might have crystals that produce heat, you might have crystals that produce cold, you might have crystals that produce force fields, you might have crystals that produce teleportation in the sense that they'll sync up with each other, and you'll have like a gateway here, and you'll have a gateway in France, and those gateways will be interlocked. They'll be quantum entangled, and when you move through one, you're going to come right out the other one because the energy is just absolutely synced up. So that's probably the next generation, but that's what this technology will end up leading to, because even if you can replicate units, like, I mean, so we take a transmuter, we start replicating it, we have all these transmuters. At some point, it just gets cumbersome, and you say, well, shoot, we don't even need all the, because bearings wear out. Things wear out. We've seen it happen. The things don't last forever. You got to replace parts and stuff. Why do that when you can go to crystal technology?
Do we still have the technology that was put in Rory's car? And if we do, how come it's not, all the diagrams and all the technology isn't published? So it can be repeated.
You know, I actually brought the drawings, but I don't have them with me. But you can get them. You can get stuff off the site. That the Magnagen engine that I showed is the closest we have to it, to the magnetron. It's what we call the sister unit to it. And I'll talk about one thing real quick. And if I really am going to go, I got a few more minutes. So okay, so there were some issues with the magnetron motor. Okay. And one of those issues was that the magnets were being drained after it ran for too long. And so one of the things that we learned through all kinds of different things, but including testing, is that magnets all have a draw factor. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy, and I almost want to just laugh even saying it. But the conventional view is that everything in a magnet is contained within the magnet. Our view is completely different than that. Our view is that every single magnet is an open system of energy. There's energy coming into the magnet, there's energy going out of the magnet. And actually, we believe that's the way it is with everything. There's nothing that's a closed system. Everything's an open system. There's energy coming out of this, there's energy there's coming into this, it's leaving this. Everything's an open system. It's completely different than how we grew up, how we were taught in college and physics and everything. The magnets were being drained because they were too close to the outer housing and they couldn't get a draw factor coming in. So when we made that adjustment, they no longer got drained because now they could pull in the energy the way they're designed to do it, and they'll go on forever. I mean, you see like there's samples in the earth and core samples of the pole shifts and everything, and there's magnetite that's been thousands and thousands of years old. It's still working just fine, because nothing's influencing its draw factor. It's always got that energy going in it. And so that open system, and that's another thing, I'll get into this, and this is going to sound weird, and I apologize. I apologize to everyone. And don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger, not the designer. We've been going by these terms north and south, and it's really not the way it is. It's really not north and south. It's really inflow and outflow, inflow and outflow. Inflow is attracted to outflow. Magnets will hook up and they'll create an inflow and outflow through two magnets. When the fields repel, they're not compatible, so you've got like an outflow trying to hit into outflow on repel. If you just take that concept that it's not north and south, it's inflow and outflow, then you start to realize why these units run and why this stuff works. Because if you can control the field and if you can pulse the magnet and the coils around the magnet, you can dramatically increase the performance of that magnet. Like in the Mini Romag, those magnets are so weak, you almost can't even get them manufactured that week. In fact, when you go to order them, and we used to order them in bulk, and we had to go through China when we were selling kits of them, and they'd say, why would you want the magnet that week? It's not going to do anything. It's not even going to work. It won't even hold up anything. Well, but it does work. It still has an inflow and an outflow. and it works precisely the way we need it to work to saturate the coils at such a close distance at 2100 RPMs. Now, and it looks weak, but once the thing starts pulsing and it's got a global pulsing happening, all of a sudden those little magnets become pretty strong. And they start producing this really nice, strong pulse rate. And so it's, like I said, don't look at the hardware, look at the field. The magic is in the field that's being produced by the hardware.
Hi, Kevin. You showed some models and designs. Are those available anywhere? Are you supplying those with your company?
Well, okay. Everything on the site there's designs and stuff on the site. There's stuff on the site. My business partner and I were selling kits until he vanished off the face of the earth. And he was my friend actually, and our shop was destroyed. So we're not selling any kits at the time. So that's just the way it is. And
how recent was that?
Just a few years ago.
Okay, and do you see that changing in the?
Yeah, I do see that changing. There's no question that it is going to change. This technology is in the hands of a lot of people with a lot of power around the world. And yeah, it's being kept under wraps, but they have it. We know they have it. We've given it to them.
Right.
We know the groups have it. So I mean, it's being kept under wraps for now, but it will come out. There's no doubt about it. And we've helped people around the world build these units over the years, and what I've always told people is, don't try to sell it. Don't try to go on the news with it. Just keep it to yourself. If you don't make a big deal about it, no one's going to bother you. Don't try to get all crazy with it. Just keep it on your farm and let it give you water and be happy, right? And everyone will leave you alone. The time will come when this technology will become prevalent, and it's going to blow away what we're currently doing, especially electricity.
So that was the next question. You said that this is not compatible with electrical devices. So how do we adapt this technology or this information you're talking about to our lives that are run by electricity today?
So in the interim, if we had to, we could use the devices to turn generators to produce electricity. Okay? That's possible. You could take the magnetogen and you could turn a whole bunch of generators. You got 480 horsepower to work with. You could take the piston and you could turn generators with it. Now, if we do that, we're shortchanging ourselves. Okay, we're still, our addiction to electricity is gonna have to come to an end at some point. And we're gonna have to give up the baby toys and start playing with the real stuff that will actually take us into the space age. At some point, we've got to let go of electricity. It's inevitable, it's gonna happen.
One other thing. If there were communities that required or wanted or requested, your assistance in setting them up with your knowledge of this technology, would you be prepared to come and assist such a community to set this up?
We've been doing it for years.
Have you? Okay.
We've been helping people out for years with these units. We've sent them all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I'm not opposed to that. Yeah, it's a good start. It's a good demonstration. It doesn't do what really needs to be done, in our opinion, which is to turn the grid off. Because we firmly believe, and I'm going to say something that's completely outrageous, and I it's going to be on record that I'm saying it, which is sad. But I'll take the heat and the embarrassment of it. We firmly believe 100% that the generation of electricity through the mega power plants, the big stuff, I'm not talking about solar, I'm not talking about DC, I'm not talking about chemical generation, I'm talking about conventional power plants, coal, nuclear. We firmly believe that the power plants are the primary cause of ozone depletion. It's okay if you laugh. We firmly believe that if that technology continues, we are going to be put in a position on this planet of survival where we're going to have to make a change, and a change is going to happen. And there's a lot of big players involved in this. I'm absolutely nothing in this. I'm just a messenger. There's a lot of people that know what's going on. There's a lot of big players. There's a lot of government players, and there's a lot of probably entities that are watching the planet very closely. So the ozone is being depleted. The ozone has not stopped being depleted. It had very, very little to do with chemicals at all, and it has almost everything, in our strong opinion, our very firm opinion, to do with electricity. And the way electricity works, when you move a magnet, like when you move these jumbo magnets through these jumbo coils and you create this incredibly powerful draw factor and you strip the ozone, you strip the ionosphere, and that energy coagulates around those power plants and it doesn't recycle it all. We are slowly draining the system and we are not replenishing it. With this technology, we will replenish it and we will balance the system. Every time you see some sort of strong vortexual storm like a hurricane or a tornado or something like that, anything that has to do with a vortex, it's well known that that storm starts in the ionosphere. There's a phenomenon that happens in the ionosphere, and you know, the dark scientists of the planet have been playing around with this. They play around with it all over the planet through technologies like HAARP. They're jacking around with the ionosphere. They're trying to create imbalances in the ionosphere. When they do that, the ionosphere pulls back. It tries to balance itself. So it's pulling energy up. It's pulling energy from the Earth. There's a rim of energy inside the Earth. There's a rim of energy outside the Earth, on the outer edges of the ionosphere. Those two rims of energy communicate with each other. When something's out of balance, the Earth tries to balance it. The more the system gets out of balance, the stronger the Earth is going to react and try to keep balance. And with that lovely positive note, sorry about that. Any last questions? One more?
No, I guess I just had a quick question. Okay. You know, when I hear magnetron, I think of microwaves. Are you functioning in this?
No, it's a completely different concept. I mean, yes, that is the conventional. Yeah, you're right. But no, when we're talking about magnetrons, what we're really talking about is the coalescence of neutrons. So a magnetron. The reason he called it a magnetron is because as they started analyzing what was happening in the unit and this like neutral magnetic pulse that's coming in the unit, they said, well, holy crap, like what is this thing? It's so strong. It's this strong form of energy and we can't put a polarity on it. Like what's happening? We can't even figure out what the heck it is. So it kind of ended, but it's got this magnetic quality to it. Like it'll attract to anything. It's weird. Like so you can offer it this attract field. So it ended up, that was the name. It became the magnetron motor because it works off these essentially magnetrons.
Yeah, my grandfather, he always referred to magnets as cyclones.
Yes.
As what? As cyclones.
That's more accurate. All right, you guys, I think that's a wrap for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Sure.
Now, before we bring on our next speaker, I'd like to hand the floor to Gregor Arturo so that he could speak a few words regarding his work.
Hello, everybody. We had a little mix-up with the schedule, so I will be speaking in this tent around noon during the break. It's going to be about systems theory biomimicry. I've been doing vortex-based mathematics for about 5 years and building my own Tesla tower and developing quark coil systems. And so I want to explain these systems in simplicity and how they relate to nature. So hopefully we'll see you there. Thank you.
We're just going to take a couple minutes to get set up for the next speaker and a Skype session. You guys doing all right today? Awesome. Thank you again for all the people streaming live on the web.